Hello, everyone, and welcome to UBS Trending. I'm Anthony Pastore. As employees, many of us look for different types of benefits, from financial to mental to physical. Today, we'll take a look at how our overall well-being is becoming a focus area with more and more companies across the country, and that is a good thing. So joining me now to discuss this are Mike Griffin and Amy Bruce from Workplace Wealth Solutions here at UBS. So nice to have you both here in the studio. Mike, as I said to you before we started, we had you on a couple of weeks ago virtually, and that program that we did was extremely popular with our viewers, so it's so nice to have you back. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent. I love this topic because it's something that every single person who is out there watching us right now, who works generally for larger corporations, but even the medium-sized ones, knows that they want certain benefits. And now, as we're saying, they're looking for more than just the health benefits. There's mental health, there's well-being, there's physical benefits. So, Amy, employee expectations of what they want and what they need from their employer, as we're talking about, have really changed drastically, especially in the 2 years since the pandemic. We've all had a lot of time to think about the things that are important to us and that matter. So tell us how the employee benefits are changing, and also, in your opinion, why do you think that they've changed?
Sure. So you're right, it's definitely changing. Employees are expecting a lot more of their employers, and they're looking for support more holistically. So whereas previously it may have been more on the physical wellness side of things, now we see that employees are really looking for support with not only physical, but also mental and financial well-being. And that's especially for millennials. And as we know, millennials make up the biggest part of the workforce today. And so according to some research that we did at UBS, 9 out of 10 actually feel that their company has a responsibility to provide them more support and help them develop greater well-being. And so you mentioned the pandemic. The pandemic, as well as the really tight labor market that we've seen, has just brought employee benefits more into the spotlight. And so that's really kind of amped up the pressure on employers. Last year, I think since the data started being collected, we saw the tightest labor market that we've ever seen. And government estimates that 4.5 million people quit their jobs in March.
The Great Resignation, as we call it. Right.
And at the same time, there was 11.5 million jobs opened up, right? So those numbers are quite astonishing. And so again, employers are really having to work harder to not only attract but retain their talent.
Well, I think getting through, I should say at the start of the pandemic in 2020, I don't think any of us could have predicted that we'd have an economic and a market boom, let alone that tight of a labor market. I think many of us probably thought it was going to be just the opposite. I mean, is that something that you see, that you agree with? Because it's such a fascinating way. If you look back, and if only we had a crystal ball in our hands in March of 2020.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so interesting.
And employees are feeling really confident. So, again, UBS research that we've conducted fairly recently suggests that 77% of employees are very confident in the security of their jobs, and 61% are highly confident that they'd be able to find other satisfactory employment. So again, right, amping up that pressure on employers. In terms of the types of support that they're looking for, I mentioned it's across all three of those aspects, right? The physical, the mental, emotional, and the financial. So we believe that the three are all very connected. Financial wellness and personal finances can be stressful and very emotional. And that in turn can have impact onto an individual's well-being. So when employers offer financial wellness programs, they're able to help their employees, build better habits as it relates to their personal finances, gain confidence, encourage them to participate more actively, and ultimately plan for the future, which in turn makes people feel better.
Right, across the board.
Yeah.
So you kind of hit all three buckets.
Yep.
But that's the interesting part, isn't it, Mike? The last time we were here, we were talking about how a lot of people don't even have access to basic financial benefits from their employer, or maybe they're not taking advantage of it. So it's great to see that companies are enhancing the well-being, the emotional side, but some don't even have those financial benefits. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, and maybe more about what the government is trying to do to help those folks who don't have those basic benefits.
Yeah, it's been crazy. If you think about, Anthony, you think about, number one, the retirement crisis, which is not enough people have access to retirement. In fact, if you think about it, 33% of America does not have access to an employer-sponsored retirement plan. That's crazy. Not only that, the ones that do aren't saving enough. As we talked about last time, the median balance for 401ks is $82,000. $82,000. That's not enough to live off of.
And with the cost of health care benefits these days, that might get you a year.
Yeah, healthcare, and then let's put student loans on top of it, which is another thing. And so, number 5, let's put the pandemic on top of that. And so that even decelerated 401k savings even more. So, look, we've realized this as a country. So there's a couple of different things that the government is doing. In fact, on March 29th of this past year, the House passed Secure Act 2.0. And it's really interesting within this, they realized the need to increase retirement savings. So they've done a couple of things. So number 1, they have made it mandatory for employers to have retirement plans. But not only that, to automatically enroll people in these retirement plans and then have auto escalation that goes after that. And the second one, and this is the most interesting, so this kind of combines exactly what Amy was saying. So now employers can match student loan payments regardless of whether an employee saves in the retirement plan or not. So an employer can contribute to the retirement plan based off of the student loan payments. I think that's huge and will help escalate the retirement savings. And then you've got $10,000 extra in the catch-up contributions for those people that are 62 to 64 to help them catch up on retirement plan contributions. So, you know, although it has not passed in the Senate, it overwhelmingly passed in the House. So we're expectant that this will continue. It may have some minor changes, but we look for that to pass. And then last time we talked about, you know, state mandates.
Right.
14 states have already mandated that employers have retirement plans for their employees. And a number of different states are also offering that as well. And then you combine that with the multiple employer plans and the pooled employer plans that are being created. This allows the small employers to pool their assets together to get cost of scale, number 1, and then some additional fiduciary protection. So a lot of things are going on in the market to try and address this crisis.
Right, and I love the fact that these multiple and pooled employer plans exist because, as you said, it's really hard for small businesses to do it on their own. You might only have 10 employees, and you're trying to also provide them some kind of a financial benefit. And I want to encourage our viewers who might be tuning in for this. Mike and I did a show, I guess it was back in March, where we really went into some of the details of what you just talked about there. Really valuable stuff. Anybody who's really interested in that information. We have to talk about student loan debt. You mentioned this, Amy. It is a huge. Is problem the right word? I mean, it's certainly a huge issue for many people. Most people say they can't even save for retirement because they're still paying off their student loans. So, Mike, let me ask you first, since we know it's a challenge they're facing, and I hear that Congress is trying to also make some changes to maybe even, you know, help or address this issue. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about this solution and how it could work.
Yeah, if you think about it, this is the convergence of exactly what Amy was talking about with the retirement. In the United States, the student loan debt between public and private debt is $1.75 trillion, which is the major
with a
reason.
T, with a T, yeah.
Right, exactly.
It's a big number.
Capital T.
Right, yeah.
1.75 trillion, but not only that, when surveying people that did not respond to or did not enroll in their 401k plans, 84% of them said that student loan debt was the major reason why they didn't contribute to their retirement plan. So the introduction of things like Secure 2.0, which allows the combination of paying off student debt plus employer contributions towards 401k, is a way to help solve those two problems.
Right.
Yeah, and going back to the point about employees' expectations, what we've seen is this shift towards employees needing more help with the day-to-day. Mm-hmm. So they can't even think at the moment about contributing towards retirement plans or the future or what they may need because they're so bogged down with the day-to-day. So whether that be thinking about student debt and the payments that they're having to make on a regular basis, or not having an emergency savings fund. So that's where we're seeing employers offer more help and assistance with the day-to-day so that they can then think and start to plan for retirement.
Terrific. It is good to hear that the government is doing what they can to help folks out who don't have access to the kinds of things that we do here at UBS, for example, or large corporations. So at least people have a chance. Pensions are, not as every single person in a boomer, well, not I should say, but many people in the boomer generation all are like living their best lives right now because they're living off of their great pensions, somewhere like in South Carolina or Florida. But the rest of us are trying to save for our own.
We'll be working forever.
We will be working forever. It is a good thing. Keeps us honest, right? Thank you both for being here. Great topic. We'd love to have you back again. I know you're always coming up with great things to talk about with our audience. So thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Great. Mike and Amy, great. Good to see you. And for more information and anything we talked about today, visit our website at ubs.com/views and follow us on social media. Lots of information there as well on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Plus, as I mentioned, Mike and I did a show back in March, middle of March. You can check that out at ubs.com/studios on demand. And as always, any questions that you might have about your portfolio or how this conversation might impact you or your loved ones, make sure to speak with a financial advisor. Until next time, I'm Anthony Pastore. Have a great day, everyone. And remember to keep your eyes on what's trending. We'll see you soon.